In the classroom, in our Google Apps account, we set up our first reading response letter. However, that one we did together, and from here on out, you'll be more on your own. You'll be more independent as you write your reading response letters. So this is a video that's meant to be a little reminder for you when you go to begin a letter. If you need a little bit of help about what a response letter is or what's expected, go ahead and watch and rewatch this video to look at the examples, and whenever you need, it's available to you. Remember that our motto for the year is reading is thinking. And this is such a great visual that shows that real reading happens when you've got an interaction going on between the text and your thinking. So a reading response letter is meant to be just one way to record some of that thinking. That interaction should constantly be going on, but a reading response letter will help us to document a little bit of that thinking. A reading response letter will also push us to spend that time thinking. Usually we're so engrossed in our books, and that's a great thing, but by stopping and stepping back for a minute to reflect on our thoughts and feelings is what a reading response letter is meant to do. It's also a great way for the two of us to communicate with each other. It's kind of like sitting down and having a reading conference. So we'll be writing back and forth to each other through these letters. Remember that a reading response letter is not a summary. You are not going to spend your time retelling the story or retelling what you've learned so far. It's a letter. It's a means of communication, not a summary. It's also not just a list. Sometimes in the classroom when we're practicing a strategy, we might list some questions or list some connections, but this isn't a list. It's a letter. It'll look like a letter with a date, greeting, body, and closing. It's written in complete sentences. And the letter, except for one sentence, is all about your thinking. So it's not a summary. It's all about your thinking. At the beginning of the year, we're going to say that the expectation is that each letter should be at least 10 sentences long. That may change as the year progresses, but to begin, at least you'll know how long to make it. In your reading notebook, you have a letter that looks like this, that gives you some ideas of what some of that thinking should be. If you are at home, however, and you don't have your reading notebook, this is also online on our webpage. You can go to our classroom webpage and pull this up, because sometimes it helps to have these thinking stems in front of us to help us and to push us in what to think about. Now remember that our reading response letters are being typed. We are using our Bloomington Apps account in your My Drive. So if you go to your drive, log in, and in My Drive, you already have your reading response letter. As you pull that up, as we pull this one up, we'll take a look at a good example of a reading response letter so you see the date. Remember that you can pause this video at any time if you'd like to take your time to read. A greeting. Where you're at in the book. This is written by Josh. So at this point, Josh was on page 20 of a 132-page book. And notice now that the rest is about his thinking. Here's something he likes. A prediction. A goal, and some things that he's wondering. Lots of thinking going on from Josh. Josh is ready to begin his next letter, but before he does that, he always needs to check the comment section, because this is where I will write back. So again, you can pause the video if you'd like to read the response that's been written to Josh by me. And then as Josh is ready to begin, he's going to go ahead. He doesn't need to start a new letter. He's just going to skip a few lines and continue here, setting up a new letter. So starting with the date, we'll say this was the next week. Greeting. He's going to say what page he's on now, reading the same book. Remember that titles of books are underlined. Now, the rest of the letter, or at the beginning of the next letter, Josh may choose to respond to a little bit of what I've said. Because this is a means of communication, he may respond. And one of the things that I had asked him was, are there other people that you would recommend this book to? And he'll continue here, maybe responding a little bit to what I have asked him, but then going ahead with some more thinking about his book. And a new letter that you'll see will continue on the next page about his thinking about quarterback season. That's the purpose of the letter, to communicate back and forth about our thinking and about books. You have great books in your hands, and I look forward to writing back and forth with you about these books.